for me, it's MSN. I believe they probably got the better numbers, I'd say. That's off the top of my head. As for greater, I think BBC might be greater just because they're Champions Leagues, personally. I know MSN kind of ran La Liga and they did get that treble in 2014-15.
Yeah.
I think it is tough. I think MSN brought a lot more to the game, if that makes sense, whereas BBC felt very much attack only, whereas like MSN, they can drop to the midfield, they can do a lot more. And there was no real goals in that Barca side besides MSN. Rakitic chipped in every now and then. That was about it. Whereas BBC had like James, Isco, Cruz, Casemiro, Modric. They could all score.
Marcelo would get in a few.
Marcelo, exactly.
Ramos would get some clutch goals.
Oh, don't remind me. Yeah, I think MSN, for me, better as a trio. I think they've worked well. I think they worked better, MSN.
Yeah. Connor, what about your thoughts?
I'll go for BBC, plainly because obviously the Champions Leagues help quite a lot in the debate. But I think if I'm looking at it from like a different kind of standpoint, I think Neymar is the third best player of like the generation. Like I think prime Neymar, third best player. But the way Benzema adjusted his game, like you see how he plays now compared to how he played back then, so unbelievably talented. Bale was prime Bale, genuinely one of the like funnest players to watch. He just sprinted past everyone, and then prime Ronaldo doesn't really need speaking of the same way prime Messi doesn't need speaking of. And obviously with everything that's come out as well about Barcelona's paying refs or whatever and stuff like that.
Well, there's a lot of questions about whether that is legit. You know, we'll have to see.
Yeah, obviously you can't just. That doesn't change the fact that Messi, greatest player, Suarez, probably top 5 generation, maybe even top 4, and then as I already said, Neymar. But I don't know. I preferred watching Bale, Ronaldo, Benzema. I can like dive into numbers all I want, but the proof is in the pudding. The Champions Leagues, the way they played, obviously their stats ain't shit. Like I'm not saying like their stats are unbelievably bad. I just personally preferred watching Bale, Benzema, and Ronaldo. It made me watch La Liga back then, where I'd tune into more Real Madrid games than I did the Barca games when I was like around 16, 15 years old. So that's why I'm just going to choose BBC. I just think the Champions Leagues as well, it's just such a big deal.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got a treble from MSN versus the 3 Champions Leagues in a row from BBC. I think for me, it is a thing where like I agree with James, where I think if we're talking about greatness and like legacy, what they achieved together, because if you look at Messi's career, Suarez's career, and Neymar's career, you know, you've got an argument for the greatest striker ever, the greatest player ever, and then Neymar, arguably Brazil's greatest ever player, or best ever player, I should say. Certainly not the greatest. Pele, he's got 3 World Cups. There's no debate there. But some people would argue that in terms of just his pure talent, he's just not been able to achieve the same things in terms of partially because of who he's had around him, and then just in terms of circumstance as well. Again, I wouldn't make the argument for Neymar being the best anyway, but some people would. You could make an argument for those anyway. Whereas on BBC side, you've got Cristiano, who is, you know, I don't think he's even arguably the greatest player of all time. I don't think that's even arguable. Bale, Britain's greatest ever player, but then that is nothing compared to like Brazil. Again, I don't think Neymar actually is, but I'm just making these comparisons. And then Benzema, who really had to hamstring himself just to accommodate Ronaldo. If you looked at his career overall alongside those other guys, then yeah. But at that time in that front 3, he was nowhere near what Suarez was. Because Suarez could drop deep, work hard, bring others into play, whilst also hitting almost 60 goals in a season. So that's why I look at it for me as just like, I think what BBC managed to achieve as a team was amazing, but a lot of that was also the team around them, and then just the fact that I think they were like box office, if you know what I mean. When the bright lights were on, they just turned up and they were great. Whereas MSN were more consistently great week in, week out. Again, I don't actually have the stats on me here. Probably would have been great if I had.
I've got the stats here.
Go ahead.
So it was MSN games 451, 363 goals, 272 assists, minutes per goal, 111, minutes per goal or assist, 62.7 with 7 trophies. Whereas BBC, 658 games, 442 goals, 243 assists, minutes per goal, 132.9, minutes per goal or assist, 78.9 with 12 trophies. So less goals per game and stuff like that, but more trophies.
Yeah.
Pretty much what we were saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's one of these timeless debates for that reason. What would you rather have, like the players who are more consistent or the players that are delivering more trophies?